The stars twinkled peacefully in the night sky over New Eden, Earth's most prosperous colony. Children laughed and played in the streets, their parents watching from nearby porches. No one knew that high above them, hidden by advanced cloaking technology, a fleet of alien ships waited. These ships belonged to the Galactic Council, a group of the oldest and most powerful alien races in the galaxy. Inside the lead ship, Supreme Counselor Sixnax stared at the blue-green planet below. His 6 eyes blinked nervously as he gave the final order. "Begin the operation," he said, his voice trembling. On the planet's surface, the first signs of trouble came when the colony's communications suddenly went dark. Emergency alarms blared to life, their wailing echoing through the streets. Parents rushed to gather their children, confused and afraid. That's when the first bombs fell. They weren't normal bombs. These weapons targeted specific DNA, human children. As they exploded, a strange mist spread through the air. Adults coughed but seemed fine. The children, however, began to collapse. In the colony's main hospital, Dr. Sarah Chen worked frantically to save lives. "What's happening to them?" she shouted, watching as more and more children were brought in, their small bodies limp and unresponsive. Outside, chaos reigned. Parents screamed for help, carrying their unconscious children. The colony's small defense force tried to fight back, but their weapons were useless against the Council's advanced shields. On Earth, in the United Nations Space Command Center, alarms suddenly blared to life. General Michael Okoye rushed to the main control room. "Report," he barked. A young lieutenant, her face pale, turned to him. "Sir, we've lost contact with New Eden. And it's not just them. We're getting reports from all our colonies. They're under attack." The general's blood ran cold. "All of them? That's impossible. Who has the power to launch a coordinated attack on that scale?" As reports flooded in, the horrifying truth became clear. This wasn't just an attack. It was a slaughter, specifically targeting Earth's children. In New York, United Earth President Amelia Cortez received the news in her office. Her hands shook as she read the report. Millions of children, across all of humanity's colonies, dead or dying. She looked up at her advisors, her eyes filled with a mix of sorrow and rage. "Who did this?" she demanded. It took hours for Earth's intelligence agencies to piece together the truth. The attack came from the Galactic Council, the very organization that had welcomed humanity into the galactic community just a decade ago. As the death toll rose, humanity's grief turned to anger. In every city on Earth, crowds gathered. They demanded justice. They demanded revenge. On the colony of New Eden, as the alien ships finally retreated, Dr. Chen stood in her now quiet hospital. Rows of small bodies lay covered with sheets. She clenched her fists, tears streaming down her face. "Why?" she whispered. "They were just children." Back on Earth, President Cortez prepared to address the world. Her speech would be broadcast to every human settlement, from Earth to the farthest colonies. As she stepped up to the podium, she took a deep breath. The weight of humanity's future rested on her next words. "My fellow humans," she began, her voice strong despite the pain in her heart. "Today we have suffered a loss beyond measure. Our children, our future, have been torn from us by an act of unspeakable evil." She paused, her eyes flashing with determination. "But know this, we will not break. We will not cower. Humanity has faced extinction before, and we have always survived. Now we will do more than survive. We will rise, and we will have justice." As her words echoed across human space, a fire was lit in the heart of every man and woman. The Galactic Council had made a terrible mistake. They thought this attack would weaken humanity. Instead, they had awakened a fury that would shake the very foundations of the galaxy. The stars twinkled above, unaware that the peace they had known for millennia was about to end. Humanity was going to war, and the galaxy would never be the same. The world changed overnight. Streets that once echoed with children's laughter now stood silent. Parks and playgrounds lay empty. In every home, in every colony, families mourned. On Earth, President Amelia Cortez called an emergency meeting of world leaders. They gathered in a secure underground bunker, their faces grim and eyes red from tears and lack of sleep. "We are at war," Cortez began, her voice steady despite the pain in her heart. "But first, we must care for our people." Around the table, heads nodded. They all felt the same mix of sorrow and anger. In New York, the United Nations building became a center of activity. Diplomats from every nation worked around the clock. They coordinated relief efforts, organized support for the colonies, and tried to gather more information about the attack. Dr. Sarah Chen, who had survived the attack on New Eden, arrived on Earth to brief the leaders. As she entered the meeting room, all eyes turned to her. "The weapon they used," she said, her voice shaking slightly. "It was designed to target human DNA, specifically the DNA of children." She paused, fighting back tears. "We couldn't save them. We tried everything." A murmur of anger rippled through the room. General Michael Okoye stood up, his fists clenched. "We need to strike back," he said. "Now, before they can attack again." But others urged caution. "We don't even know why they did this," said the Chinese president. "We need more information." As the debate raged outside, humanity came together in a way it never had before. Old enemies put aside their differences. Rich and poor stood side by side in candlelight vigils. In London, 1 million people gathered in Hyde Park. They held pictures of children lost in the attack. Many were not just from Earth, but from the colonies too. Humanity had truly become one family, united in grief. On the Mars colony, engineers worked day and night to improve their defenses. They knew they might be the next target, but instead of fear, they felt determination. "They think they can break us," said Yuki Tanaka, lead engineer of Mars Defense Systems. "But they don't understand humans. We don't break. We get stronger." Back on Earth, in a small town in Brazil, Maria Gomes looked at the empty school where she used to teach. She made a decision. Walking to the local military recruitment office, she signed up. "I used to shape the future by teaching children," she told the surprised recruiter. "Now, I'll secure that future by fighting." Scenes like this played out across the globe. Millions volunteered for military service. Others offered their skills in science, engineering, and medicine. In orbit around Earth, construction began on new warships. They were designed based on technology reverse-engineered from previous peaceful contacts with alien races. Now, that knowledge would be used for war. President Cortez stood in the shipyard, watching as the first ship took shape. Beside her, General Okoye nodded in approval. "It's a start," he said, "but we'll need more. Much more." Cortez turned to him, her eyes hard with determination. "We'll build as many as we need. We'll turn every factory, every resource we have to this effort." As they spoke, a team of scientists in a secret lab made a breakthrough. They had been studying the few alien bodies left behind after the attack. Dr. Raj Patel burst into the president's office, out of breath but excited. "Madam President," he gasped, "we found something. A weakness in their biology. If we can exploit it." For the first time since the attack, a small smile appeared on Cortez's face. "Good work, Doctor. This could change everything." As night fell over a changed Earth, millions of candles were lit in windows around the world. Each flame represented a lost child, a promise of remembrance, and a beacon of hope. Humanity had been wounded deeply and cruelly, but it was not defeated. Instead, it was awakening, like a giant rousing from sleep. And the galaxy would soon learn just how formidable humans could be when united by a common cause. The Galactic Council had sown the wind. Now, they would reap the whirlwind. 6 months had passed since the devastating attack. The initial shock had turned into a grim determination. Humanity was preparing for war on a scale never seen before. In a secret underground facility in the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Raj Patel stood before a group of world leaders. Holograms flickered around him, showing complex diagrams and alien biology. "We've cracked their genetic code," he announced, his eyes bright with excitement. "The Galactic Council species have a weakness. Their neural systems can't handle certain frequencies of electromagnetic radiation." President Cortez leaned forward. "Can we use this?" Dr. Patel nodded. "We're developing weapons that exploit this weakness. They won't know what hit them." Meanwhile, in orbit around Jupiter, the first of Earth's new war fleet was taking shape. General Michael Okoye floated in zero gravity, inspecting the massive ships. "How long until they're ready?" he asked the chief engineer. 2 months, sir," she replied. "We've incorporated the alien tech we reverse engineered. These ships are faster and more powerful than anything the Council has." Back on Earth, in every major city, training centers had been set up. Millions of volunteers were learning to fight, not just with weapons, but with new technologies designed for space warfare. Maria Gomes, once a teacher, now stood before a class of recruits. "We're not just soldiers," she told them. "We're the protectors of humanity's future." In Geneva, the diplomatic corps worked tirelessly. They reached out to other alien races, those not part of the Galactic Council. Some, horrified by the Council's actions, offered support. Others remained neutral, afraid of the conflict to come. Ambassador Lai Wei, Earth's top diplomat, addressed the United Nations. "We've exhausted all peaceful options," she said, her voice heavy. "The Council denies involvement, despite overwhelming evidence. They leave us no choice but war." As Earth prepared, the colonies were not idle. On Mars, Yuki Tanaka unveiled a new planetary defense system. "If they come back," she said, her face set with determination, "they'll find us ready." In laboratories across the globe, scientists worked day and night. They developed new medicines to counter potential alien bioweapons, created AI systems to predict enemy strategies, and pushed the boundaries of physics to give humanity an edge. Dr. Sarah Chen, still haunted by the memories of New Eden, led a team developing advanced medical tech. "We couldn't save them before," she told her team, looking at a photo of the children she'd lost. "But we'll save many more in the battles to come." In orbit, the first group of space fighters began their training. They learned to pilot ships that could outmaneuver anything the Council had. Among them was Carlos Rodriguez, a young man who had lost his little sister in the attack. "This is for you, Maria," he whispered as he successfully completed a complex maneuver. Deep in the asteroid belt, mining operations worked at full capacity. Resources poured in to fuel the war effort. Every scrap of metal, every rare element, was put to use. On the Moon, a massive cannon was under construction, the Artemis gun, they called it, designed to take out enemy ships before they could even reach Earth's orbit. As the preparations neared completion, President Cortez called a final meeting with her War Council. General Okoye, Dr. Patel, Ambassador Lai, and others gathered around a holographic display of the galaxy. "We're as ready as we'll ever be," Okoye said. "The fleet is prepared. Our soldiers are trained. Our weapons are primed." Cortez looked at each of them, seeing the mix of determination and apprehension on their faces. "What we're about to do," she said slowly, "will change the course of human history forever. We go to war not just for vengeance, but for the very survival of our species." She stood, her posture straight, her eyes blazing with resolve. "Send the word to all our forces. Operation Nemesis begins in 24 hours. As the orders went out, a tense calm settled over Earth. In homes and bunkers, on ships and stations, humans everywhere prepared for what was to come. They knew the cost would be high, but they were ready to pay it. The next day, as the Earth fleet prepared to jump to its first target, Carlos Rodriguez sat in his fighter, heart pounding. As the countdown began, he thought of his sister, of all the children lost. "For Earth," he said softly. "For all of us." The ships vanished in flashes of light. Humanity had taken its first step into a war that would reshape the galaxy. The human fleet emerged from hyperspace in a brilliant flash of light. Before them lay Proxima Centauri, home to one of the Galactic Council's key outposts. General Michael Okoye stood on the bridge of the flagship, his eyes fixed on the alien structures orbiting the distant star. "All ships, report in," he ordered. One by one, the fleet captains confirmed their readiness. Among them was Carlos Rodriguez, now leading a squadron of fighters. His voice was steady as he said, "Raptor Squadron, ready for action." "Sir." On Earth, President Cortez and her advisors watched the live feed from the fleet. The tension in the war room was palpable. Dr. Sarah Chen, there to monitor any biological threats, whispered a quiet prayer. Back in space, General Okoye gave the command they had all been waiting for. "Operation Nemesis is go. All ships, engage targets." The human fleet surged forward. The Galactic Council outpost, caught completely by surprise, scrambled to raise its defenses. But it was too late. Carlos led his fighters in a daring attack run. "Remember New Eden," he shouted as they unleashed a barrage of missiles. The new weapons, designed by Dr. Patel's team, bypassed the alien shields and struck true. On the council station, alarms blared. Supreme Counselor Zixnax, who had ordered the attack on human colonies, stared in disbelief at the screens showing the human fleet. "Impossible," he muttered. "They shouldn't have this technology." The battle raged on. Human ships, faster and more agile than their alien counterparts, danced through space. The electromagnetic weapons Dr. Patel had developed proved devastatingly effective. Alien ships writhed and went dark as the specialized radiation overloaded their neural systems. On Mars, Yuki Tanaka and her team monitored the battle from afar. "It's working," she said, a grim smile on her face. "Our ships are outperforming theirs on every level." As the fight continued, news of the human attack spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Other alien races watched in awe and fear as humanity, a species they had dismissed as primitive, brought the mighty Galactic Council to its knees. Ambassador Lai Wei, stationed on a neutral planet, worked tirelessly to control the narrative. "Humanity fights not for conquest," she told the gathered alien diplomats, "but for justice, for the lives of our children, slaughtered without reason." Back at Proxima Centauri, the battle was reaching its climax. The Council's defenses were crumbling. General Okoye ordered the final push. "Activate the Artemis gun," he commanded. On the moon, engineers fired up the massive cannon. A beam of energy, visible even from Earth, lanced out across space. It struck the Council's main station, cutting through its weakened shields like paper. Inside the station, Counselor Zixnax realized all was lost. As fires raged around him and systems failed, he opened a channel to the human fleet. "We surrender," he cried. "Please, stop the attack." General Okoye's face appeared on the screen, his expression hard. "Surrender accepted, but this is just the beginning. You will answer for your crimes against humanity." As the human forces secured the station, Carlos landed his fighter in the hangar. He stepped out, removed his helmet, and looked around at the alien architecture. "This is for you, Maria," he said softly, thinking of his lost sister. On Earth, cheers erupted as news of the victory spread, but President Cortez remained solemn. "This is only the first battle," she reminded her advisors. "The war has just begun." Dr. Chen approached her, datapad in hand. "Madam President, we've already gathered invaluable data from this encounter. Our weapons performed even better than expected." Cortez nodded. "Good. We'll need every advantage we can get." As the day ended, humanity celebrated its first victory. But in the depths of space, the rest of the Galactic Council was mobilizing. They had underestimated humanity once. They would not make that mistake again. On the captured station, human scientists and soldiers worked side by side, unlocking new secrets and preparing for the battles to come. The galaxy watched and waited, knowing that the war that would shake the future of all species had only just begun. General Okoye looked out at the stars from the station's observation deck. "We've made our mark," he said to himself. "Now we fight for our future." 3 months had passed since humanity's first strike. The galaxy was now engulfed in a war unlike any seen before. Battles raged across dozens of star systems as humanity pushed forward, driven by a thirst for justice and survival. On the planet Nexus Prime, a key galactic council stronghold, General Michael Okoye led a ground assault. Plasma fire lit up the alien sky as human troops advanced through the streets of a massive alien city. "Push forward," Okoye shouted, ducking behind a fallen alien statue. "We take this planet. We cut off their supply lines." In orbit above, Carlos Rodriguez piloted his advanced fighter, leading a squadron in a dogfight against Council ships. The space around Nexus Prime was a sea of explosions and laser fire. "Raptor 3 on your 6, Carlos called out, swooping in to destroy an enemy fighter threatening his wingman. The battle was fierce, but humanity's new technology was giving them the edge. Back on Earth, President Cortez stood in the war room, surrounded by holographic displays of various battlefronts. Dr. Sarah Chen approached with a grim expression. "Madam President," she said, "we've detected a new biological weapon the Council is developing. If released, it could be devastating to our troops." Cortez's face hardened. "Can we counter it?" "We're working on it," Chen replied. "But we need more time." Meanwhile, in a secret lab on Mars, Dr. Raj Patel made a breakthrough. He burst into Yuki Tanaka's office, eyes wild with excitement. "We've done it," he exclaimed. "We've found a way to disrupt their faster-than-light travel. We can cut off their reinforcements." Yuki's eyes widened. "This could change everything. I'll inform Earth immediately." As the war raged on, other alien races were forced to choose sides. Some, impressed by humanity's resolve and horrified by the Council's initial attack, joined the human cause. Others, fearing the Council's wrath, aligned against Earth. Ambassador Lai Wei found herself in heated negotiations on the neutral world of Zarkon. Alien diplomats from a dozen races argued around her. "Humanity fights for more than just itself," Lai declared. "We fight to ensure that no species can ever again commit such atrocities without consequence." Her words swayed some, but others remained skeptical. The galaxy was dividing, and the war was growing more complex by the day. On the front lines, a young soldier named Aisha Khoury crouched in a trench on a distant world. Next to her, an alien ally from the Vexillar species adjusted its breathing apparatus. "Why did you join us?" Aisha asked during a lull in the fighting. The Vexillar's multifaceted eyes turned to her. "Because what was done to your young ones was unforgivable. And if the Council would do that to you, who's to say we wouldn't be next?" Their conversation was cut short as enemy fire rained down. Human and alien alike fought side by side, united against a common foe. In the depths of space, a massive battle unfolded near a strategic wormhole. Human ships, now augmented with technology reverse-engineered from captured Council vessels, clashed with the largest Council fleet yet encountered. Admiral Jessica Chen, sister of Dr. Sarah Chen, stood on her flagship's bridge. "Activate the FTL disruptors," she commanded. The new devices, based on Dr. Patel's research, flared to life. Suddenly, the Council ships found themselves unable to retreat or call for reinforcements. The tide of battle turned dramatically in humanity's favor. As news of the victory spread, hope surged through human-controlled space. But the war was far from over. The Galactic Council, reeling from defeats but still powerful, was becoming increasingly desperate. On their homeworld, the Council leaders met in emergency session. "We underestimated them," one leader hissed. "These humans are more dangerous than we ever imagined." Another counselor spoke up, fear evident in their voice. Perhaps we should sue for peace." The room erupted in argument. Some wanted to surrender, others to fight to the bitter end. In the chaos, The true fractures within the Council began to show. As the 5th month of the war came to a close, humanity had gained significant ground, but the cost had been high. Millions had died, worlds had been scared by battle, and the galaxy would never be the same. In her office on Earth, President Cortez looked at a photo of her grandchildren, lost in the initial attack. "We've come so far," she whispered, "but at what cost? And how much further must we go?" The war raged on, with no end in sight. Humanity had proven its strength, but the true test was yet to come. A year had passed since the war began. The galaxy was scared, countless worlds bearing the marks of conflict. Humanity, once seen as a minor race, had become a force that shook the stars. Now they were preparing for their final assault on the Galactic Council's home system. General Michael Okoye stood on the bridge of the HSS Nemesis, Earth's most advanced warship. Before him, a holographic display showed thousands of human ships and those of their allies, all gathered for this last, decisive battle. "All fleet commanders, report in," Okoye ordered, his voice steady despite the weight of the moment. One by one, the leaders checked in. Carlos Rodriguez, now an admiral, spoke for the fighter squadrons. Dr. Sarah Chen, heading the Medical and Science Division, confirmed their readiness to counter any biological weapons. On Earth, President Cortez addressed the world one last time before the battle. "Today, we fight not just for vengeance, but for the future of all species who believe in justice and peace." As the massive fleet prepared to jump, Dr. Raj Patel made a startling discovery in his lab on Mars. He frantically called Yuki Tanaka, the Council's home system. "It's protected by a massive energy field. Our weapons might not penetrate it." Yuki's face paled. "We have to warn the fleet. But they're about to jump. We might be too late." In the depths of space, the human armada made the jump to the Council's home system. As they emerged from hyperspace, a collective gasp went through the fleet. Before them lay not just the Council's worlds, but a massive energy barrier encompassing the entire system. "All ships, hold position," Okoye commanded, quickly assessing the situation. Suddenly, a transmission came through from Mars. Dr. Patel's face appeared on the screen, explaining the barrier and its implications. Admiral Jessica Chen spoke up. "Sir, without a way through that barrier, this could be a slaughter, our slaughter." As the fleet hung in space, seemingly at an impasse, an unexpected message came through. It was from Ambassador Lai Wei, who had been working tirelessly on the diplomatic front. "General Okoye," she said, her face grave but determined, "I've been in secret talks with a faction within the Council. They're willing to lower the barrier and help us, in exchange for assurances about the post-war galaxy." Okoye's mind raced. This could be their chance, but it could also be a trap. He looked at President Cortez's image on the comm screen. She nodded, understanding the unspoken question. "We'll hear them out," Cortez said, "but be ready for anything." As tense negotiations began, the human fleet remained on high alert. Carlos led scouting missions, probing the barrier for any weaknesses. Dr. Chen worked with her team to prepare for any possible biological attacks. Hours passed. The galaxy held its breath. Finally, Ambassador Lai Wei returned with news. "They've agreed to our terms. They'll lower the barrier and help us take out the warmongering faction of the Council." As promised, sections of the energy field began to flicker and fade. But not everyone in the Council agreed with this decision. Suddenly, weapons fire erupted, not just at the human fleet, but between Council ships. "It's a civil war," Okoye realized. "All ships, engage. Target only those firing on us or our allies." The battle that followed was chaos. Human ships flew alongside friendly Council vessels, fighting against those who still wanted war. The space around the Council's homeworld became a storm of energy weapons and explosions. On the planet's surface, Aisha Khoury led a team of human and allied alien special forces. Their mission: capture the Council leaders responsible for the attack on Earth's children. As they fought their way through the Council's capital city, Aisha couldn't help but think of the long journey that had brought them here. For Earth, she whispered, for all of us. In orbit, the HSS Nemesis engaged the Council's flagship. General Okoye stood firm as his ship shook from enemy fire. For every child lost, he said, for every world scarred. Let's finish this. The battle raged on, the fate of the galaxy hanging in the balance. Humanity had come seeking vengeance, but now found themselves fighting for something greater, a chance to reshape the galaxy into something better than before. As the Council's defenses crumbled, a new day dawned, not just for humanity, but for all species who dreamed of a just and peaceful galaxy. The dust of the final battle was settling. The Galactic Council's capital world, once a shining jewel of alien architecture, now bore the scars of war. In the Grand Council chamber, now serving as an impromptu war room, human and alien leaders gathered to shape the future of the galaxy. President Amelia Cortez stood at the head of the table, her eyes reflecting both wariness and determination. Around her were familiar faces: General Michael Okoye, Admiral Carlos Rodriguez, Dr. Sarah Chen, and Ambassador Lai Wei. Joining them were representatives from various alien races, including former council members who had sided with humanity. "We've won the war," Cortez began, her voice echoing in the vast chamber. "Now comes the harder part, winning the peace." As discussions began, reports flowed in from across the galaxy. Aisha Curry and her team had successfully captured the council leaders responsible for the attack on Earth's children. They were being held for trial, a trial that would set a new precedent for galactic justice. Dr. Raj Patel and Yuki Tanaka, joining via hologram from Mars, presented their findings on the advanced technologies they'd discovered. "With this knowledge," Patel explained, "we can rebuild worlds, heal the scars of war, and push the boundaries of science further than ever before." But not all was easy. Some human factions called for harsh punishment of all council races. Others warned against becoming the very thing they had fought against. Ambassador Lai Wei stood, addressing the gathering. "We started this war for vengeance, but we must end it with wisdom. If we punish entire species for the actions of their leaders, we're no better than those we fought." Her words sparked intense debate. Admiral Rodriguez, thinking of his lost sister, argued for stricter measures. Dr. Chen countered with pleas for reconciliation and healing. As arguments heated up, an unexpected voice cut through the noise. It was a young Vexillar, one of the alien races that had allied with humanity. "My people never knew your children," it said, its voice translating through a device. "But we fought alongside you because what happened to them was wrong. Now we ask you to remember why you fought, not just for vengeance, but for justice, for a better galaxy for all." A hush fell over the room. President Cortez nodded slowly, then spoke. "We will have justice, but we will also have mercy. The guilty will be punished, but we will not condemn entire races for the actions of a few." Over the next few hours, the foundations of a new galactic government were laid. The old council was dissolved, replaced by a galactic federation where all races, including humanity, would have equal say. As the meeting concluded, Cortez turned to General Okoye. "What now, old friend?" Okoye smiled tiredly. "Now we rebuild, we heal, we explore." In the days that followed, the news spread across the stars. On Earth, crowds gathered in streets and squares, celebrating the end of the war. But there was solemnity too, as people remembered the cost of victory. In a small town in Brazil, Maria Gomes, once a teacher turned soldier, stood before a memorial to the lost children. She placed a flower and whispered, "We did it. We made sure you didn't die in vain." On Mars, Yuki Tanaka and Dr. Patel began work on a new project, a massive terraforming initiative that would make more worlds habitable, ensuring humanity and their allies would never again be vulnerable to a single attack. In the depths of space, Carlos Rodriguez led a mission of exploration, seeking out new civilizations to invite into the fledgling Federation. And on a distant world, Aisha Khoury helped establish a new academy where humans and aliens could learn from each other, ensuring the bonds forged in war would last in peace. As the first year of peace drew to a close, President Cortez stood on a balcony of the new Federation headquarters, looking out at the stars. Ambassador Lai Wei joined her. "Do you think we did the right thing?" Cortez asked. Lai smiled softly. "We did the human thing. We fought, we hurt, we healed, and now we're building something new. Something better." As they watched, a ship took off, heading for the stars, a ship crewed by humans and aliens alike, embarking on a mission of peaceful exploration. The galaxy had changed forever. Humanity had proven itself a force to be reckoned with, but also a species capable of forgiveness and growth. The future was uncertain, but for the first time in a long while, it was full of hope.